Welcome to
Recalculating,
a podcast about spiritual detours.
Honest doubt and the unexpected clarity
that comes from questioning the path you're
Growth
on.
with one way to believe,
one way to belong.
one version of God, one direction.
Somewhere along the line, the road signs
Stopped matching the destination.
And I had a choice.
I could keep relying on the map that had me driving in circles or start asking some different questions.
Previously on
Yeah, I could believe in
Recalculating.
the Sabbath. I could believe in Jesus. I could believe in all of those things, but not in Ellen White having to be a prophet. So when I fully left the church, I left everything but Jesus at first. It was like, I'm not going to lose Jesus because I believe in Jesus. No one's going to take that from me. And then I went on TikTok and started deconstructing Seventh-day Adventism and sharing that with people, and became part of a community of deconstructors and exposed to other people leaving the church. And I was just like, oh my goodness, I can't even believe in Jesus anymore. Not the way the church, at least, or the Bible has portrayed Jesus. But that was a really hard loss for me. Like, it was a hard loss, and it really took, a long time to grapple with the fact that this being that I've had this relationship with maybe isn't the best being.
recalculating,
So was that period though brief? How far into the TikTok deconstruction was it that you were like, whoa, there's way more questions than I was even open to when I started asking?
Honestly, it was pretty quick into my deconstruction on TikTok. I think within the first couple of months being on there, it made me like face that really quickly. And then I went, oh, I'm not even a Christian. Like, I can't even say that I'm a Christian. And that was really hard. Like, getting on, I remember I had someone early on ask me, well, are you even a Christian? Because I was talking about like all the reasons why Seventh-day Adventism was wrong and cold or, harmful. And they're like, that accusatory question, well, are you even a Christian? And I had to like sit there and go, am I? And then I realized I'm not. Like, that was a grief. I grieved that so hard because that was an identity that I thought I would never lose, because I believe in Jesus. I believe in love. I believe in that energy that Jesus embodies in the Bible. But except for the Bible is so problematic and how they portray Jesus in the Bible is also equally so problematic. And once I had to face that, then I had to be honest with myself and say, no, I can't believe in this. It all has to go. And then I got really depressed, honestly, like super depressed. I let go of everything. And I'm like, I guess I'm an atheist? No, I don't know if I'm an atheist. Maybe I'm agnostic. And maybe I just don't have to know. And there was this period where I was completely adrift. It was like I was trying to, I guess I was looking at everybody else around me in the community and going, these people that I really trust and respect, they're atheists, they're agnostic. Having any kind of spirituality felt too scary at that point. And so I just let myself be adrift for a while. And I want to say, like, for me, a while was like 6 months. But that 6-month period was really dark for me. I got super depressed, and I realized I wasn't following my truth. I was letting other people still guide me and tell me or shame me from what was right for me. And then I had to go, okay, I need to strip it all down. I need to know what I believe for me, no one else.
100%. Yeah.
So what do I believe? And then I was like, I don't know. I don't know how to find that out anymore. But I knew that my entire upbringing within the Seventh-day Adventist system, the education I got was suspect, right? Like science, religion, history, everything suspect. So I'm like, damn, my entire upbringing, all of my education has been within the Seventh-day Adventist system. I guess I need to go through a re-education now that I've deconstructed from all these belief systems and I don't have those beliefs surrounding my learning. So if I can So yeah, I just started reading everything I could get my hands on, like anything science, earth science, anything spirituality based, like from any part of the world, like anything. I
Yeah.
just devoured, like, and I knew I needed to read to know what connects with me, what feels right when I read it is the truth according to Heidi. Um, and so I began writing my own grimoire. Um,
Grimoire.
yeah, this is my grimoire. This is it's like my book of beliefs. I guess grimoires can be like spell books too. And I did
Uh-huh.
go down a. Um, I wanted to explore my part of my ancestry because I'm. Do you ever do like the 23andMe to find? Well, no, maybe
Sure.
you can't. Like your situation is probably very different than mine.
I did
But
it, but
you
yeah,
did.
yeah,
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 yeah. Okay, so I did it, and I discovered I am 99.7% white, like specifically Northwestern European, like very
yeah,
specific to the UK,
yeah,
England, Wales, Scotland, Ireland. Like I hail from there.
yeah.
And I've always been deeply called to that area since I can remember. Like I love that country. I love their beliefs. I love not their beliefs. I just love the vibe of the island. I'm not saying that there's a belief system of the whole islands, but the I guess the Celtic pagan beliefs have always resonated with me. So I'm like,
Hmm.
okay, I'm going to dive into that. That I was told that that was evil and that was wrong, and I don't believe that anymore. So I dove into studying all of that, and it became um, it definitely anchored me and helped me through a very dark period of time. Because one of my core beliefs that I added on very early is that everything is energy. Like, I believe that. Like,
Hmm.
science tells us too, right? Like,
Yeah.
energy pretty much makes up everything. Like, we are energy. Everything is energy, just in different forms of that energy.
Hmm.
Okay, so I believe in energy. Um, but also energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just transferred, right?
Hmm.
Okay, so then that made me very easily believe in the eternalness of our soul, and that our soul is just is not connected to our bodies. I do believe that we have a mind, body, soul complex system, and that if there is a trinity, it's within us, right? Like our mind, our physical body, and our soul, our etheric, like, and we have an energy field around us. Like that's scientific. Like I can say there is this electromagnetic field around me and
Hmm.
you around all of us, and that interacts, and there's this communication that's happening that's not verbal, but it's energetic and we feel it, but we can't see it. Okay, I know that in my bones. So I get that one
Hmm.
in my book, right? Like, um, um,
I love not having these kinds of things cut off. Like these types of ideas cut off from possibility. Like we were not allowed to conceive. Like just the sentence you just said about the soul lasting beyond. Like the spirit of the dead is such a
oh yeah, the
thing
state,
for us.
such a
The
big,
state of the dead. Excuse me, state of
yeah,
the dead
the state of the
is such a thing.
core topic within the Seventh Day Adventist Church, and it's interesting because in my family, well, my mother had her accident when she was 13. She was kicked off of a horse. That's a whole story, but her story is that she died that day, or
Mm.
not that day specifically, but in she went into a coma. She had to have part of her left temporal lobe removed to save her life, and she remembers while she was in the hospital or unconscious, being separate from her body and being with this light being, that embodiment of love, who she just, she's like, it's God. It's this, but she described, and I always ask questions about it, right? I was like, what it was like. It was just this like pure energy of love is how she
Mm.
described it. It was just light and consciousness and love. And she was there with this light being, and this light being gave her a choice, like, you can stay or you can go back. It's up to you. but here's, what it will look like. I mean, here's like, basically she said that she saw the importance of her life. Like she saw why she needed to come back, and that she knew it was going to be really hard, but she chose life. She chose us. I was at 13 for her. And that impacted her and her spirituality, and of course mine, throughout my entire life. Also, my mom, because of her brain injury and my relationship with her, was very difficult. She ended up abandoning me throughout my childhood, just dropping me off at friends or family's homes on a dime, like at a moment's notice. I wouldn't know if I'm going to be home, or like I couldn't be home at all anymore. So, I I guess the church's teaching and what my mom told me about the state of the dead were always like a juxtaposition with each other. And my
Oh,
mom
sure.
stayed in the church. Like she's still fully, well, she didn't fully believe. There was a huge part where she left the church and she was questioning, and she helped me question too. But she came back in anyways at the end of her life. She was really pulled in by the MAGA cult. And her belief systems were like, yes, there is a spiritual, I mean, like, yeah. Anyways, I won't get into that more. But when she passed away, October 7, 2023, this also impacted my spirituality deeply, because my mom and I had been estranged for about 2 years at that point, not by my choice. I would have loved to have been close with her, but she didn't want to be in a close relationship with me because of lots of things we won't go into. And I think because of her brain injury, her health was declining, and her seizures were increasing. And it was just hard for her to be in relationship with me or my sister, or people that she had difficult relationships with. Anyways, the day that so first of all, I began to have these like premonitions that my mom was going to pass. Like I just like kind of started feeling like this is the last year that we're going to have with my mother. I told my sister, I told my husband. They kind of thought I was crazy, and I'm just like, I don't know. Like, I really feel that we should be prepared for this to happen. And one day in October, my husband and I actually got in a really, really big fight. It was not great. I was incredibly triggered. I do have CPTSD.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in therapy with it. I know like when I'm triggered, what I need to do. And, but that day, I was so triggered. I left the house saying, I'm never coming back. Like, and I meant it. Like, I'm leaving. I can't do this anymore. This is too hard. I'm like, I have to leave him. And I went out to the car. I was going to drive down to the river like I normally do, to calm myself and ground myself and bring myself back into my body. But as soon as I got into my car, it was so fascinating, because I heard my mom's voice in my head clear as day, just saying, come home, Heidi, just come home. It's time. And it was like this peace washed over me. And I went, really? Like now? I'm like, maybe not the best time. And it was just, no, just come home. Just come home. It's time. And I was like, okay. I've also, at that point in my belief system, in like my reconstruction journey, part of my belief system was just trust my inner voice, trust my inner knowing, stop downplaying the voices that are in my head that like, that sounds like I'm crazy.
Right. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like your inner voice, your inner knowing. And so I
It's
was
like
like,
listen for the still small voice,
right.
unless it says something you wanted to hear, and then that's you, and you should ignore it.
Discernment is really important. Mm. But in this voice, I was just like, no, I need to follow this. This is the right thing. Anyways, I drove home only to find my mom had already passed. But like sometime that night, like it was a very recent, it was profound for me, because not only did I want to be there when she passed, I needed to be, I think. And I had been putting out and like, I guess, praying or trying to connect to whatever energies were out there. Because again, like I said, I believe that everything is energy, but I also do believe that everything has consciousness. Once I got to the point where I can truly believe that everything has a consciousness, then yeah, it shifted how I showed up in the world completely too. Um, so yeah, my mom was just there. I could hear her. I could feel her. I was really angry. Her caregiver that she'd been with for, I don't know, I think 4 or 5 years, I knew was a really horrible person. She told me all the things that he had done to abuse her, which is part of why the estrangement. I tried to help her, but she chose, him over us. Not just that, like it was a lot more than that. But she definitely was like, I need a man. We were like, we can take care of your mom. She's like, no, I need a man. Um, and he was not a good man. And I had a lot of fear that he would be the last caretaker she ever had because, and then he was. So when I showed up, there was nobody there. It was just my mom. The house was locked. The windows were open and the gates were wide open. And it was just weird. Anyways, it became a crime scene because I showed up. He was never charged. Everything was. It was like there was a lot of negligence. They were like, yeah, it's negligent. Yeah, but like, he's touched in the mind. They said. They told me they're like he's got his own mental health and brain injury struggles. So the courts aren't going to ever charge him. We're not going to charge him. You just need to let this go. And I felt my mom telling me the same thing, right? Like she was telling me, I'm at peace. This is what I wanted. I wanted this. Please forgive him, let him go, let it go, and then just focus on your healing. Focus on you. Don't focus on the hate. And I was able to do that, which is really interesting because that's not my personality. I'm a fiery Aries. I have a lot of
Yeah.
passion for justice, and I wanted so much to bring him to justice, but it wasn't what I should have spent my energy on, and I'm really glad I didn't, because it would have. I believe it really would have been a waste. The system wasn't going to do anything about that.
Could you have gotten there if the dead knew not anything?
No, absolutely not. I know that.
Yeah. I sometimes wonder. I bounce back and forth between how much I think things are interconnected, meaning wise. But there are things like there are moments or instances in my life that had I not gone down the rabbit hole of my questions, I wouldn't have been the human I needed to be when they came up.
Right.
And it's like, it's hard to look at that as a coincidence of like, there's this thing I was never, ever going to put down, ever. And then when I did, immediately I would have had to anyway. Like, I would have had to have found a way to do it. And if I hadn't gotten there yet, I wouldn't have. Like, there are two children on the other side of this house right now that desperately needed me to crumble apart when I did. So I can be the dad they actually need instead of the
Yeah.
one I would have been, which
Right.
would have looked like a very similar guy, but the things I would have fed their brain about themselves, the things I was about to be feeding their brains about themselves,
Right.
would have been terrible, absolutely terrible. I would have done immense harm. That I'm not, and I know that this is in case my parents listen to this. I'm not suggesting the harm I was worried about doing was harm done to me. That's not what I'm saying. But I am saying the way I was using it would have become harm for them. And
I
I think that's why I kind of wanted to ask this specific question about things right after things kind of fall apart, because I feel what generated this idea as a podcast, the recalculating idea, was when we were going through when we didn't know if TikTok was going to die or not.
right.
And I was trying to decide what videos have I made that I want to make sure I save because I might need these again. And there was this one that had the absolute worst sound quality in the world. but I needed to keep it because it was about being taught like the remnant theology concept where everyone else is some level of wrong. It leaves you nowhere to go. Like if you decide I can't be here anymore, you've already mentally written off every other potential home. Like there's no space. And I think that in and of itself stops people from asking the questions because it's so scary of like where
Oh
do I
no,
go?
absolutely. The fear that they pump into us is meant to keep us from questioning. Um,
Yeah.
because I mean, I definitely believe that the church and all churches, maybe even I don't even think the people, all the people in it, understand what they're doing with it. But when these churches were created, I fully believe they were created to strip us of our power and give that power to the churches.
Hmm.
um, and the money, power, control, all of that. That's what
Hmm.
it's always. That's what typically what it always boils down to, right? But true spirituality, for me, empowers every single person to be their fullest, like, version of themselves, the best version of themselves. It doesn't limit you; it expands you to be peak
Yeah.
person. Best person, optimal, happy, optimal joy, optimal living your truth. It's I mean, like the very opposite of what we were raised in.
Hmm. And like I had no vision of another side. Like I had no vision of what it would look like outside of it to ever tempt myself to try to live there.
Right.
And that's what I hope people could get from conversations like this of
Mhm.
like, okay, here's where things started, but here's where things can go and what you can do
Yeah.
with spirituality, whatever is left of it for you
Right.
afterwards. Because we are, I think we end up, I shouldn't, I don't know how different we are from other people,
Hmm.
but I feel like we can end up so incredibly disoriented in ways that are unpredictable.
Oh,
Like
for sure.
you talked about deconstructing Adventism and then looking into Jesus claims, Christianity
Hmm.
claims, you know. And like for me, when I started deconstructing Adventism, it was like 2014 when I really, really was getting ready to be like, I need to say something about this. And
Hmm.
then 15 and 16, and then evangelicalism lost its mind
Oh my
in 2016, right?
God.
And so I'm like, well, I can't go to any of those. Like, what am I supposed to? What am I supposed? Like, it was like the worst timing in the world. And I was, I just didn't think there was anything left. But I start deconstructing on accident from the concept of like infallibility and inerrancy. Like the Bible started changing
Mm-hmm.
before Adventism did.
Hmm.
And it got to the point where I was so open with how I could view the Bible
Hmm.
that my own Adventism didn't make any sense. I was able to like kind of toss a literal creation. I was able to toss the clobber verses. I was
Hmm.
able to toss out like Paul saying women shouldn't be allowed to talk. Like, like there was all these things I could do, but it was like, but there is this timeline with Daniel and Revelation, and that definitely points to, the October of 1844, and there's nothing you can do about that. So I can't question my core beliefs while the Bible itself was falling apart. And I thought that was normal. And I mentioned to someone that, like, my belief in Ellen's inspiration was the last thing to go.
So, I have something I want to say about what I believe about Ellen White's inspiration. I want to make sure I say.
Sure.
So, okay, this is definitely part of my restructuring of my belief system. It's something I think how do I say this? Okay, so I have gotten deep into the spiritual woo-woo world. But it's very
Hmm.
important for me to stay deeply grounded in reality at the same time too. But I love listening to. Do you know? Are you familiar with Dolores Cannon's work at all? She's a past life hypnotherapist. This is someone that, like, if you're still in the SDA world, you try to listen to, you'll think she's demonic for sure. It was a hard read. I started listening to her books pretty quickly early on in my reconstruction. Someone recommended Jesus and the Essenes by Dolores Cannon to me. And I read that book and it just like opened up, like blew my mind of possibilities of what could be there. And it made me definitely go down these rabbit holes of all of her books past life regression myself. I've done hypnotherapy on myself, I guess, several times. So I've had these experiences where I do believe that I've connected to past lives that I have had and have healed deep trauma within myself with these experience. Like these 3 sessions that I've had more of an impact on my healing than like the 1,000 hours I've done in talk therapy throughout my life.
Hmm.
So just for that alone, highly recommend the past life regret or QHHT hypnotherapy. But also if you're just curious, like if you're just curious about it at all, highly recommend it. Anyways, in that world, how do I say this? It gets like, there's like a whole world out there in the universe, like it's not just us here and we're the only ones, but there are beings on other planets and talking about how they interact with us. And it does like talk about this spiritual battle more like Star Wars, more like kind of like the Great Controversy ish, but not. But that there is something bigger going on in that we kind of all kind of pick up on. Like I do think that there is something at play that is more than surface level than what we see in our physical 3D world. So
Sure.
that resonated with me. It was like, okay, this seems like I can entertain this at least as a possibility. I'm not saying I 1,000% believe all of it, but it's I think important to remember that each person that channels anything, they're channeling it through their own brain and their own perception, their own experiences, and so we're all faulty. We all have these issues with being able to channel truth or whatever it is because it's just truth through us, right? Okay. So that being said, when I was listening to one of these books, became they started talking about Orion and how the beings from Orion were actually very negative, dark beings. Now, do you remember anything about Orion from the Great Controversy?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And doesn't that play pretty heavily into the like end times and how Jesus, God, is going to come from Orion? Right?
Yep.
Like I've
Yeah.
always been connected to Orion's belt because I've been told Jesus is going to come again through Orion's
Through that
belt.
belt. Yep.
So I'm listening to these books and they're talking about how the beings from Orion are these really dark, negative entities that have done a lot of things to make us live in fear and control and anything that they could do to entrap us so that we are denied our power as humans. Because if we do know who we really were, if we could remember who we really were when we come into this physical existence, then we could all have, like, I don't know, the powers of Jesus, right? Like, I don't think that Jesus was anything more than a human that understood and connected with his highest consciousness, the soul that knew what his mission was going to be coming into this earth and what all humans are capable of. All humans, right? Because like if you listen to Jesus's message, like the core of what Jesus is saying, it's not make a religion of me, but like do these things. Like if this is the path that you want, like you can heal people, you can heal yourself, you can like do these miraculous things, and that's just what all of us are capable of. It's right.
Yeah.
So
Like if we weren't so painted against the idea of Eastern religions,
mhm.
we would notice Jesus was kind of Easterny in his
Oh
in his
Really
approach to
extreme.
things, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's always been very fascinating because those are the things that started to open up, you
Mhm.
know. Like I was reading Dan McClellan's book. Actually, I think I was still just in like the introduction, but he was talking about 2 Timothy 3:16, the like
Mhm.
all scripture is inspired,
Mm.
and he does a really good job of explaining what that sentence means in various contexts.
Mhm.
But ultimately, one point he made was that the word for inspired there is just like life giving.
Mhm.
It, and it's used to describe like the spices and oils that you would adorn a dead body with
Oh,
because it was
interesting.
meant to keep the soul near the body
Mhm.
for up to 3 days. And
Mhm.
so that's why the Lazarus story, he waits for the fourth day because it's, I was giving him time for the soul to leave. And
Mhm.
you needed that 3 days because of how you believe the soul stays with the body.
Right.
And it was just like this explanation of Jesus in the Bible doing a thing Adventists would say Jesus would never believe was
Mm-mm.
possible, but like it's in there, you know, and just that much of like, it was that realization to some extent, like you said earlier, you wanted to be able to live out your truth as you saw, like, what is Heidi's truth?
Mhm.
And my realization was that's what everyone else was already doing. They were just telling us it was something else. And it was like they'd already picked their thing, their lane, and they'd carved off the stuff they didn't want to follow. And it was like, now you do it too.
Right.
And but it was the truth and it was inspired and infallible. But it
Mhm.
was just it was their choice. I mean, yeah, I mean like you don't choose what you believe to some extent. Like you are convinced. But
Mhm.
like that is still your that's still you. That is your choice. That is the thing that convinced you. Like we were always
Mhm.
trying to live our thing. We were defining our thing by somebody else. And that something else and somebody else was never God. Like you know, like whatever you think God is, whatever anyone is
Right.
open to it being, it was never that. And so like when I say Ellen's inspiration was the last to go, I don't
Mhm.
even necessarily mean I stopped believing everything Ellen said. My idea of inspiration changed
Mm.
fully to
Oh,
where
yeah.
I don't think she's not inspired per
Mhm.
se, but I don't think anyone was inspired the way we treated her as.
Agreed.
And so it's like the level of possibility and openness and spirituality
Mhm.
grows from literally every direction now. And that is for me that's super freeing. It was similarly depressing and scary at first,
Yeah.
but it's amazingly freeing to be like I can look at the world in this entirely different way, approach spirituality in an entirely different way, but a way that's more authentic to the thing that was born in me,
Right.
you know. And so it's like whatever put me here gave me this perspective.
Mhm.
Why would I think I'm supposed to put blinders up on that
No, you're not.
and start telling you somebody else's perspective? I
Mhm.
can't do that. I've
No,
never lived that. I only can tell you what I'm going through.
any of us can only do that.
Yeah.
Hold on, my brain is doing something that's not helping me out right now because I didn't finish a thought with the Ellen White thing. I wanted to
Go
make
ahead.
sure that I was clear. I do think that Ellen White might have been channeling some beings from Orion and
Oh,
like
okay.
that, like negative and like anything that's like, because all of her writings were steeped in fear, right? Steeped in any,
Absolutely.
like all of that. And so that like energy of fear to keep us entrapped in not in our power. I think that she was channeling beings that it only gave more power to the church or that kind of energy within the church system, where it made it look like it was really close. You know, I think there's a lot of things within Ellen White's writings that are true and are good, but there's so much that's also not, and that
Yeah.
keeps us disempowered, that keeps us disconnected, that also, and then only further to create a system, which, was very similar to Rome, like what she was, trying to say, like, was
Yeah.
awful and evil. um,
Well, and it's not
I
it's not for
think she was
me
very
to
open
shoot
to
bail.
channeling. I just don't think that she understood that when she was open to channeling, that there are so many beings beyond just this one God that we envision that there is, that we could channel. But yeah, so that's
And it is not her fault
no,
what
it's not at
we
all.
all did with her words.
Right.
Like
Hmm.
that is there's a lot of things that went into that. So
Right.
I don't want to feel like I'm saying anything particularly negative about her as an individual, because I'm really not. It
Oh,
is how I
I'm
was taught
be
to.
around her. I have a difficult time with her, even still in my spirituality, because I think that she really was a mirror for a lot of negativity and created a lot of more trauma. And, she, in her own soul's evolution, is still recognizing that, I think,
Mm.
personally. That's my belief.
Yeah, it's funny. I talk about the Orion stuff in my manuscript a little bit,
Hmm.
not too much about it, but just kind of the genesis of the idea that Jesus would return through Orion's belt, and like
Mm-hmm.
what we thought of where those stars were at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked, I don't know if I left it in or if I pulled it out, but I asked the question, like, if she had lived like 30 more years to see like commercial airplanes,
Mm-hmm.
if just the idea of, oh, that plane is 30,000 feet in the air, that reopens the breadth of what's out here. Or if she had seen the Hubble telescope look at Orion's belt
Mm-hmm.
to see the nebula and not a crack in the sky, like
Mm-hmm.
what she would have had to reconcile with, and what opportunity, like what could she have then said. I do want, because I really think, like, I think most people are attempting to do the best they can with the information they have.
Mm.
And
It's very generous.
I wonder. I would die to like get a time machine and bring her forward.
Mm-hmm.
And just be like, does this like make you wonder about anything you saw or felt? Like, do you have less certainty in your own connection from that or not? I'm infinitely curious as to how that would work. Because I mean, so many things got locked in for so many different belief systems in the mid 1800s that just, 50 more years and so much would have been ruled out as a possibility. We would have just had to open different things.
I know,
But
for real. It's very interesting how, like, the real, yeah, that's a whole nother topic we could get derailed on too. I'm
I
aware.
feel like, I feel like everything we've talked about has been a thread of like, oh, that's a great tangent we could go down.
Oh, no, for sure.
There's so much. And
Yeah.
so in moving forward,
Next time on
I
Recalculating.
would like to talk about this book series,
Oh, yeah.
The Mother of God. Yes,
No.
no, the
My
Mother Ring, the Mother
is
Ring,
called The Mother Ring.
the Mother Ring. I am fascinated by. It is an epic mythic saga, right?
It is correct. Yes, correct. It's an epic mythic saga.
Recalculating.